Hello, I'm Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney Dan Laren here once again with the case of the week. One of the decisions that our judges make on a daily basis is to release defendants, whether on bond for a pending offense or probation. Our parole board releases entirely too many people, in this reporter's opinion, into our community. Today we're going to talk about a man who was released into the community and responded in a way that was less than constructive for everybody involved. So, this is Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney Kimberly Henderson Baird. Kimberly, can you start off by telling us a little bit about how you came to be a prosecutor here in the Fayette Commonwealth Attorney's Office?
Oh my. Next year will actually be 18 years in this office. I started as an intern my last year of law school, and still, shockingly enough, was not convinced about wanting to be a prosecutor. But I've been here, and I'm where I need to be. That's what it is. Way.
I know the feeling.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, I want to ask you to talk about a man by the name of Daryl Strunk. Was Mr. Strunk, did that case come to you while he had been released from our court system for some sort of bond?
He actually came, as a matter of fact, I inherited the case from another prosecutor who since left. So he didn't even start out with me. He actually was here with another prosecutor on a charge of flagrant non-support. And while that charge was pending, he picked up just a couple of other little charges.
Well, what kind of charges were those?
Well, he first picked up a robbery charge in March of 2011. The flagrant non-support case was sort of pending. And then he had one charge of robbery in the first degree, where he was identified as the getaway driver in a home invasion that had occurred. And then while out on that one, he was arrested, in custody, got out on bond, and then he committed another robbery, home invasion, on December the 5th of 2011, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He wore a mask and broke into the victim's home, hit him with a brick a few times, and then he took the victim's gun out of his pocket and hit him with the butt of the gun a few times. Then they struggled, and the victim was able to pull the defendant's glove off of him, and then they sent that glove off to the lab for DNA testing. About an hour after that robbery, about 2, he goes to another local business and proceeds to ask that victim for his stuff, who approaches him. He's got on a hoodie, asks him for his stuff, pulls out a gun, and then he jumps over the counter to the victim, and they continue to fight. And the victim is hitting him with a car battery, and they're continuing to struggle. And I think the victim has his own gun as well, but they continue to struggle, and then shots were fired, and then Mr. Strunk is shot in the hand. While that case was pending, then the DNA came back on the robbery.
Okay. So how did the case proceed through the system?
Well, it took a little bit of a delay because Mr. Strunk wasn't all that keen about wanting to take responsibility for his actions. So he was looking at a lot of time, and he didn't want to plead to the time that I was offering. So we were still negotiating and talking with victims and different things like that. But he still was not fully prepared to come up to the offer. And then we had them all, I think, set for trial. And he finally agreed to enter a guilty plea and accept responsibility, partially anyway.
And how was the case sentenced? How did the case ultimately resolve?
He ultimately ended up pleading to all of those charges, the 3 robbery to some variation of them, and the fact that he had prior felonies, so he was also charged as a persistent felony offender. So ultimately, between those 3 charges, he received a sentence of 31 years, and because he was on bond on the flagrant non-support charge, that they all run back to back to back, so he received an ultimate sentence of 34 years.
And it's fair to say that part of the deal, when you get released on bond, as Mr. Strunk in this case was at least twice by our judges here in Fayette County, that the sentences ultimately run consecutively, which is to say back to back.
Yes. And then with respect to the 2 robbery charges, because they occurred about an hour apart, but they were in the same indictment, Part of our agreement when we made that offer was that he agreed that they ran consecutively for a 30-year sentence, and that it ran consecutively to the other robbery and the other charge, and consecutively to the flagrant non-support.
Okay. Well, I took the liberty of examining Mr. Strunk's criminal record. He has 3 prior felony convictions for flagrant non-support, escape in the second degree, and receiving stolen property. He has 14 prior misdemeanor convictions, which include DUIs, criminal mischief, 1 endangerment, assault, drug paraphernalia, things of that nature. He has failed probation on 4 occasions on his way through the criminal justice system. He's 37 years of age at this point in time, and he was paroled and violated parole twice on his earlier sentences. So he has a 34-year total sentence, it looks like. I believe he'll be eligible for parole in 2019. That doesn't mean he'll get it or he won't get it, but he'll be off the streets for about 5 or 6 years. And it looks like his sentence is not scheduled to complete until sometime between 2037 and 2046.
Right.
So that's a pretty good resolution. It's very unfortunate that several victims were injured and subjected to this sort of violent behavior, but it did end pretty well for us. So Mr. Strunk will not be released on bond or otherwise for at least the next, sounds like 6 years or so.
At least.
Good. All right. Well, 1 down, several to go. I'm Assistant Commonwealth Attorney Dan Lair, and this has been the Case of the Week.